In the next couple of minutes, I'm going to be sharing how you can turn your brewery's website into a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week sales generating machine, because that's what it should be. And at the end, I'll be sharing where you can download all the details. Before we dive in, let me introduce myself. For almost 2 decades, I used my website for a brick and mortar business as a primary sales generator. Not only have I given this a load of thought, I've had a massive amount of sales success doing the things I'll be sharing with you. Like everything I do, I want to help the people out there making great beer. Let's start moving your brewery to the next and most successful phase ever. Sound like a plan? So let's dive into what you should be doing as far as on your website and how you can turn your website into its maximum profitability generating device and sales tool for you and your brewery. What we're going to be covering is how to structure your website. We're going to go over some content ideas, some do's, as well as some don'ts, and we'll talk about how you can structure this to sell more beer. Now, let's talk about how you structure your website. Your homepage, think about that as the big picture. It needs to have the basics, much like what a reporter would do in their story. It needs the who, the what, the where, the when, and the why. Now, your interior pages, let me move myself out of the way here. They'll be covering a major topic with an overview and then subsequent pages and drill down. What you really want to do on any kind of interior section, let's use food as an example. You'd have a major food page talking about the types of food, maybe who does the cooking, or if you have food trucks, how they come in. Then from that point, what you would do is, let's say you have your own kitchen. So you talk about the type of foods that you would have. You might add some situations where there's food and beer pairing information. That's that major topic overview. Then a subpage, of course, one of them would be your menu. So you want to kind of drill right down into things. That's how we structure the homepage and your interior pages. Let's talk about your homepage and how you structure it. Remember, this is a big picture. Up the very top, that's where I want you to have your who, meaning your logo and name, your what it is you guys do. Think about your when and why as a lower third of your homepage, and the where is at the very bottom. I like to keep that centered. So in this situation, your who, best beer brewing, whatever your name is. If you have it out in the logo, put that there. The what, brewing lagers and pilsners since 2000. This is where you can be unique. This is where you can put situations and elements in that are unique to you and your business. So this isn't just a cookie cutter. Every brewery's website looks the same. Now below where you can express yourself, want to make sure your when and why. Now pictures are a big part of this. You can see I put them because obviously the when would be when you're at that beer fest, the date and time, the address, all that. The why, let pictures do a lot of that heavy lifting. Showing what's happening inside your tap room, have some pictures of you guys brewing some beer, but most importantly, if you have events, and then by event I mean opening up on a Thursday, have great pictures of people enjoying your beer and food if that's the case, on premises if that's the case, but you want to have those things happening. And great pictures will convey that message better than anything else. Now, at the very bottom of not just your homepage, but every single page that you have, your where. In this situation, this mythical brewery is Best Beer Brewing. I put an address of 20 West 34th Street, New York, New York, zip code 10001. That should be at the bottom of every page. It should be linked to Google Maps. So if someone, particularly on their phone, wants to come visit you, they click on that at the bottom of any of your pages and they will get turn by turn navigation from wherever they are to your location. Very important thing to keep in mind. Do not alter the way you list your address. Keep it consistent on not just every web page, but everywhere on the internet. You could have 20W, meaning West 34th Street, or you could have 20 with the word West spelled out. You could also, instead of abbreviating street, you could spell that out. You could spell out the second New York. A lot of different ways we can put the same address. Now, Google wants to see it the exact same everywhere, meaning how it might be listed on your website needs to be the same how it's listed on your Google My Business, exactly the same. If you abbreviate West on one, you abbreviate on them all. Any other citations, meaning places where your business might be listed. Let's say you're part of your town's small business group. Make sure it's listed there the exact same way it's listed on your website and everywhere else. Why this is so important is keeping those things consistent lets Google know that, yes, this is exactly where you are, and this will help you rank better. If you have your address listed multiple different ways in multiple different places, that can knock you down in your Google listings. That could keep you from being on the first page, which would drastically reduce the amount of website traffic you would get, and in turn, the number of people finding you. So that's how we want to structure the website homepage. How you structure your interior pages. Looking at the left, obviously some pages that many of you will all have the same of being your beer. You have your types of beer would be a subpage, then drilling down, what you'd have is a separate page for each individual beer that you brew. Another thing to have, if you're offering other types of drinks, whether you're brewing them yourselves, meaning a non-alcoholic beer, or if you have some ciders, make sure you have those indicated under other drinks. If you're serving Coca-Cola or Pepsi or Sprite, people want to know what you have. Believe it or not, and it's hard for me to sometimes wrap my head around, some folks don't drink beer. So you want to make sure if you've got wine, cider, or non-alcoholic options, make sure anybody who visits your website clearly understand that. We talked a little bit earlier about food. You have your menu, you have your pictures, you have descriptions of those. Make sure you have all those things in place. Other interior pages you might have tied to your entertainment, upcoming as well as some past events. You want to show dates and pictures. If you have entertainment, what bands are coming, if it's events, where you're going and what you're doing on site. Another page you should have is merchandise. If you don't do merch, you should, because if you're not doing it, you're losing money. Make sure you have your merch page set up and a way folks can buy your merch directly from the page. Have a frequently asked question. Can be things like, is it kid friendly? Is it pet friendly? Any other types of elements about it? Perhaps if you brew beer, certain elements about your brewing process, all those types of things should go into that frequently asked questions. Let's dive into some website do's and don'ts. Do use plenty of pictures. The expression a picture is worth 1,000 words, definitely true on the internet. So make sure you've got good pictures, pictures of folks having fun, pictures that identify the product you have, and ideally, what type of experience somebody could have at your location. So don't just throw a picture on there for the sake of a picture. And don't use stock footage. That really gives off the opposite of a good feeling. Do teach people about your beer. Put information on there. ABV, of course, but other things, how different ingredients are in there, how they're brewed, whether they're bottom fermented or top fermented. Folks want to know a lot of that stuff, so might as well put that on the website. Conversely, don't assume people know anything about your beer. Your website should be for someone who's never heard of you, never been to you, and providing all the information they need. The website and the information about your beer is not for somebody who comes and visits you 3 times a week and have been doing it for years. Don't assume anything. Make sure you're using your fonts and colors that are consistent. Ideally, those fonts and colors go from signage within your building right out to your website. Try and keep those consistent. What you shouldn't do, though, is don't let design take precedent over content. You want your website to be appealing, something that you think is visually nice, but the content is so much more important than the visuals. Many websites that I come across, they're missing content. They're beautiful to look at, but you're not an artist. You're a brewery that's trying to inform people and give people a reason and a desire to come to your location. And that's going to be hammered home mostly through content. Do put your full name and address on every page. Do keep that consistent. Do have that frequently asked question page. Don't assume that anybody is familiar with anything about your business. Be clear and transparent. For instance, if pets aren't allowed, let folks know that. Last thing you want to have somebody do is assume that they could bring their pet, show up, and you turn them away at the door. Do make sure they have a chance to join your list. When I talk about lists, there's really 2 lists. You can combine them and capture them in one effort, both their email address as well as their mailing address. Don't forget to incentivize and promote the idea of joining your list. Everybody that comes in contact with people at your brewery should be driving folks towards the list building process. Build a list, you'll make more money. More folks on your list, the more money you'll make. These are simple concepts that have been consistent in business for a long time, and they will work in your business. I talk a lot about lists and what to do with them. Here's the thing: nobody wants to join a list. Folks want to win some merch, want to be informed about certain things, that folks want to get on your list to receive special incentives, meaning couponing or invitations to events. So make sure you do everything you can to incentivize and give people a reason why to join your list. On your website, do make sure you list your hours of operation. In addition to being convenient and helpful for customers to come across it, it helps Google rank you and will increase your ranking also on your Google My Business, having accurate hours of operation. In addition, don't forget to update or make any changes for holidays. If you're closed on July 4th, make sure whatever July 4th falls on, make sure folks know that you're closed. Do put your social media links, but don't make it a priority, meaning you don't want to get to the point where you're driving folks away from your website to your social media, because anything they can gather on social media should also be on your website. Make sure you satisfy and provide all the information they need there. Do have a way for them to contact appropriate staff. For instance, if you have an events manager, under an events tab, make sure that email and or phone number is there. Don't hide any important information behind contact. If you do have events, tell folks about the type of events you do. If they want to have an event, perhaps a wedding, a birthday party, Christmas party, spell that out. Don't just direct them towards the person within your operation that handles those things. Make sure it's spelled out, which gets them excited, and now they have a reason to contact your staff. So don't hide that information, but do design your site to be visually appealing. Don't forget to optimize your content for mobile. Can't tell you how many times something comes up on social media. I'm like, wow, that's great. I dive into their website. Everything's blown out and doesn't fit and doesn't work mobile. I bet you when they designed it, which they did on a computer, either a laptop or a desktop, it's a beautiful looking website. But once it goes to mobile, a lot of the things fall off or don't work. Let folks know how to purchase. If you take credit cards, make sure that's shared on there. Typically in the menu, talk about pours. If you have things like growler service, make sure that's all baked into your website. These are all things people would want to know why they visited your website. And if you don't provide the answer, they may not come to visit you. Also, anything that somebody can buy on your website, give them that option. I built a business compared to all my competitors. I made it very easy for folks to make purchases online. Now go ahead and give me a like and a follow so you can continue to get sales generating ideas and know-how from me. And in the first comment, there's a link to where you can download this information to either share with your web designer or you can make these necessary changes yourself. Here's to your success.